All right, we're always thrilled to have Karin Slaugher here at the Fox 5 studios. Atlanta's own, I should say, Karin Slaugher. Great to have you here. The new book is The Good Daughter, and we're making a dream come true. Executive producer Amy Oates is a Karin Slaugher super fan. And when I say super fan, I mean a super. I couldn't even touch this book because she ripped it out of my hands to read it. So we're going to let you ask the real fan questions to Karin Slaugher. Are you ready for this?
Oh, I don't know.
You better be.
Bring it.
Bring it on. All right, Amy, what do you want to know? What do fans want to know?
Well, I guess living here in Georgia, and the book is set in North Georgia, so it's Pikeville, Georgia. I picked up that it's close to Ella J, because you make references to that. But usually, like, I feel like you model your characters around somebody. So who is this, the father, the defense attorney? Who would you say you've modeled him after?
Well, you know, he's sort of like a compromise between the Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird and the one in Go Set a Watchman. Because, you know, if you look at him in To Kill a Mockingbird, you see him from Scout's point of view, where she idolizes her father and thinks he's this saint. And then in Go Set a Watchman, you find out, well, maybe he's not so saintly after all. And I think a lot of girls go through that with their dads, you know. Like, I love my dad, and I adore him, and he's a great guy, but I really do understand why he's been married so many times, you know, as an adult.
And in this case, we have a very dysfunctional family.
Yeah, yeah.
They could not move past this tragedy that happened 28 years ago. So we have two daughters who have not really seen each other and know nothing about each other's lives. And it kind of all revolves around this father who is a hot mess, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But it's like, as a reader, you can't tell if you're supposed to love him or hate him.
Well, that's the way his daughters feel, you know? I mean, I think that as adults, they really understand that he has a lot of flaws, but he's their dad, and they love him, but you know, it's difficult. Sometimes they really hate him too, because he's not always there for them. He loves the law. He's the kind of lawyer everybody hates, because he'll really just defend anything, even if it's completely indefensible. And, you know, it's good we have lawyers like that, especially if we need them. But if you're just on the outside, you think, man, he's just a jerk. But again, he does things for his daughters that sometimes they don't even know about.
So tell us a little bit about the wife. You know, she's so smart. Like, tell us about that character and why it was important for her to be so smart.
Well, you know, the thing is, in society, we're not really wired to appreciate really smart, really driven women. I mean, we love that in men. We give them all kinds of accolades for that. But for women, they're considered difficult. And she's actually kind of modeled on my 9th grade English teacher, who was the first teacher who really encouraged me to be a better writer, you know. And everybody before that had said, you're a great writer, but she said you can be better. And first I was like, what? You know, I'm perfect. But she really challenged me, and she was a constant throughout my life since 9th grade. She was almost a surrogate mother to me, and she passed away recently. But even as she was dying, someone brought her a box of chocolates, and they were these really nice artisanal chocolates, and there was an explanatory letter about, you know, how they were made and the name of the cow that gave the milk for, you know, things like that. And there was an apostrophe error. And we talked about the apostrophe error, and she wanted me to write a letter to them and explain to them, you know, you're really embarrassing yourself. But that's how she was, you know. She thought it was important to get your grammar in line, and she wasn't afraid to tell people when they had messed up. But that's kind of the inspiration for Gamma. And there's a line I wrote, and I'm kind of a geek. I have a waterproof notepad in my shower, and there's a line I wrote about Gamma, because she's a scientist. They call her Gamma because she studied gamma rays at Fermilab and NASA. And it says, she was as pale as an envelope and just as likely to inflict tiny cuts in inconvenient places. And that's really, she doesn't mean to do it, but you know, her mind is a lot quicker than everyone else's, so she tends to have some problems with that.
Now, I have to say, I feel like every time you write a book, it gets more intense, more graphic, as you find yourself like feeling like you're a character in this book. Now, this one, I kind of felt like a little How to Get Away with Murder, where you're in the present, then you go back. Like you have a different style in this one.
Yeah, you know, when I thought about after I'd written that opening chapter, I thought this is an opportunity to do something kind of different. And I almost thought about it in terms of a Victorian novel, you know, where you're talking about family and society and rich and poor and crime and punishment and all of those things. And, you know, setting it in this fictional town of Pikeville, which I guess you could probably find it on a map. Everybody knows these sorts of small towns, right? And I thought, let me set it there and let me talk about just how things have changed and how isolated people have become in some ways, and how, you know, the divide. When I was growing up in Jonesboro, Georgia, my dad was the only Democrat on our street, right? And everybody treated him like he was just for the wrong football team, you know? I mean, and it was like, okay, well, you know, I'm for Alabama, you're for Georgia, but we can still have a beer on the weekends. And now it is so divided, and I'm really worried about small towns because, you know, if you look at the fact that Atlanta and the metro area is a massive base for tax, right? We pay so much tax here that benefits the rest of the state. And this divide could, like, really end up punishing these small towns, because at some point people in the cities are just going to say, I don't want to support the community anymore. And that really worries me, and I wanted to talk about those divides.
And the thing about the book being based in a small town, it can be anywhere, because small towns are the same anywhere.
Exactly, yeah.
You know.
And you made the point to me earlier that this town is not specifically based on any one North Georgia town,
yeah,
right?
because I write up in Blue Ridge in Fannin County, and I love it up there. I've been going up there almost 20 years. My dad lives up there. He's got a small business up there, Blue Ridge Coin Laundry. So you know, I love going up there, and I see the same people over and over again. I grew up in Jonesboro, you know, which, believe it or not, when I was there, it was a small town. Yeah, it hadn't been sucked into Atlanta yet.
Now, yeah.
And a lot of people love those small communities. They feel comfortable there. They don't want to move out of them. And you know, again, it's like we need to respect each other and acknowledge that there are differences, but we're all Americans.
And I don't know if you know this, but Amy, in her head, is married to Will Trent. They've been a couple for a very successful relationship for a long time. I know every fan watching this, and I know Amy wants to know what's next for Will Trent.
Well, I do have a new story coming for Will Trent. It's not the next book. It'll be the next one in 2019. But I have to remind you, he's fictional, because he takes out the trash without being asked, and you know, he's always fantastic in bed, and you know, don't get your hopes up. But it has been optioned for television, so we'll see if maybe we'll see something.
So how many books do you have now that have been optioned for television?
Well, the Will Trent series is, I think, 7 or 8 books now, and then Coptown has been optioned.
So when will we see that on television?
Oh, who knows? It's Hollywood. You're in television, you know.
Yeah.
It could crap out at any minute, but we'll see.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. The burning questions have been answered. You all can keep asking them right here on our Fox 5 Atlanta YouTube channel and our Facebook page. And, of course, always go to Karin Slaugher's. You love being on Facebook and chatting with people and stuff like that, right?
I do it way too much.
Yeah, okay. Don't distract her from
right.
getting Will Trent done. However,
and I'm predicting a sequel to this one.
Okay.
We'll see.
Yeah.